Venus Fridays. Hello. Let's talk about what is going on with the feminine energy this week through our divine feminine planet, Venus. So first off, today, Friday, is the waning half moon in Aries. So the moon is losing light, moving towards the new moon, which is coming right after the 4th of July, the big celebration here in the US for Independence Day. We'll talk about that. The solar return of the US is happening on Thursday. So that waning half moon, right? We're losing the light. It's that time of just kind of naturally moving into a more reflective time within the moon cycle, because we're going to be coming into the new moon, like setting a new intention. It's the new place to kind of like check in, and we're moving towards that kind of energy, right? So something to think about. But it's in Aries, which is much more associated with like action and movement. So that reflection could come through that kind of lens, right? And we have Venus sextile Mars today too. So here's some Venus things going on, the feminine. Venus and Mars do their own kind of like sacred dance, and right now they come into this sextile relationship, and so that's considered to have more kind of flow and harmony. So you could look at it as, opportunities to look at or lean into kind of more harmony within like your masculine self and your feminine self, right? And where's that balance between those two? So there's kind of, we have these energies on this day, kind of like these different polarities coming into alchemy of how they work together. Okay, so then on Saturday, Saturn goes retrograde. So we have that happening in the sky. So when the outer planets go retrograde, they still keep moving forward, but they look like they're going backwards. And that's why we call it retrograde from our visual view. So Saturn is that planet of contraction, which we can associate with being negative, but I don't think it is, because it just brings the walls in. So we go, oh, wow, I want to use my energy more intentionally, right? As opposed to, I've just got lots of it to just bleed off wherever, and I don't care, right? So it starts to go, ooh, helps us get clear on what we want to do. So when it goes retrograde, it just leans into that energy a little bit more, right? So we're in this waning part of the moon cycle, moving towards the new moon. Here in the US, we're having a solar return from when, at least the United States of America began, right? And then, yeah, so I'm just saying that there's kind of some options around this, little more reflective, kind of getting clear how we're using our energy, what are we wanting to do with that. So then we move into, actually on Sunday is my solar return. My birthday is actually July 1st, but your solar return can happen not always exactly on your birthday, because it's when the sun comes back to the original place that it was in the sky at the same exact degrees when you were born, right? Okay, I'm going to share my screen to talk about this next couple parts, and then we'll be on our way. All right, so here is just showing this so we can see. Here is actually July 1st, on Monday, my birthday, early in the morning. And I just want to show, here's where the moon and Mars come together. So a couple things, if you're like early birds and you want to go out and see, you can see the sun here slowly starting to rise. I'll take the ground away. There's the sun moving towards rising. But there's the moon and Mars coming into their conjunction. So that can help you spot and see where Mars is in the sky. And then on Wednesday, the 3rd, the moon comes into a conjunction with Jupiter. So just throwing that out there for some sky viewing options. But let's go back to the 2nd here, and let's talk about, I'm going to bring up Neptune. So it's going to move for just a second when I push this button, and then I'll bring it back to this view. There you go. Didn't move too crazy, but it gets a little, this software can kind of make you a little nutso. So here's where Neptune is with the red lines pointing to it. And Saturn, right? So Saturn's moving towards Neptune, right? They're coming within 10 degrees. So that's something that we'll be talking about ultimately. But Neptune is going retrograde here on the 2nd. This is all my time, mountain time. Yours could be slightly different. But around this time. So Neptune's going retrograde. So we have Saturn go retrograde. Now Neptune's going retrograde. And so what does that mean for us, right? Neptune is that planet of visions and dreams. And I like to think of it as like the connection to the heart of spirit. Like that's the place where we go into our hearts to connect with the greater one and whole. And that's going retrograde. So again, there's a little bit, retrogrades bring more of this reflective kind of energy because it sort of spends some time where it is and starts moving backwards. So there's a lot of reflective energy opportunity around like our dreams and how we're using our energy and what we want to be focusing on like for the rest of this month that like helps us move into the next moon month of what we want to be focusing on next that helps bring us into greater alignment with like who we're meant to be and who we are, right? Little baby steps at a time, right? That's what we got this lifetime for. Okay, so Mercury also, I'm going to advance this a little bit and we're going to lose Neptune. Mercury, and I will turn the sun off so we can see what is going on back there. Move forward just a little bit. I'll put it kind of more up on high. You can see Mercury here. Slide this down. Is moving into Leo. So our thinking, mind, focus, energy is moving into that Leo, shining the light. It has that resonant energy with the sun, tuning into our own divinity, right? Applying self-love to ourselves, the unconditional love of the universe, right? This is where Leo and I think Neptune have things in common because Leo connects us into the heart, into that place of love. And that is what Neptune does in a different, I'm not going to say larger, but in a different kind of way. So Leo's self-love is more about, right, with Mercury being there's our awareness, consciousness, connecting more into how do we care for ourselves? How do we love ourselves if we know we are the divine incarnate, right? We're here to live our soul path. And Leo helps us connect into that place even more through our hearts and how we give that out into the world and shine that light. Okay, so then we saw on the 3rd, I'll just repeat here with the moon comes together with Jupiter, moving the time and date out of the way. And then finally on the 4th here, the sun, we have the solar return. It's Independence Day here in the United States, right? And so I know those of you in other countries don't care about this, but it's like what's happening in my country right now. So I'm going to just spend a moment focusing on that and just talking about the solar returns in general, right? So the US has its solar return from, when a rough kind of loose time of when the Constitution was like, I can't remember what the word, it was like signed later in August. But anyways, a lot of people kind of agree around this time. So anyways, the sun is in Cancer. So the US is a Cancer, right? Has a Cancer sun sign if we go with this timing, right? And a solar return is that time of celebration, right? So we have like big parties everywhere. There's like a parade here and concerts and all kinds of things, all that kind of stuff. But it's the celebration, same with like our birthdays, right? And our solar returns, like this is how it applies to all of us. But it's also this time of like reflection, right? And intention where we think, okay, I am here. Is this where I want to be? I'm turning another, revolution around the sun. Where do I want to be going? Where do I want to be focusing my energy, right? That Saturn contraction is helping, right? So that's the opportunity when we have the solar return. And so it'll be interesting, I think it's a nice time to kind of think of that on the collective, at least here in the United States. Like if our country was founded as to have like a Cancer sun, how does it fulfill that? And what could we do together collectively, those of us in the United States, to contribute to that, right? Cancer, mothering, nurturing, nourishing, feeding us, holding safe space, holding us, holding our hearts, teaching us about sharing, providing us with lessons around like unconditional love, right? This kind of thing. So anyways, just something to think about. And then Friday the 5th is the Cancer new moon, and we'll talk more about that next week. And I will just leave you with an aromatherapy because I've been getting requests to keep that back in these. And I picked violet leaf, which is from the violet flower, but it's the leaf. So the leaves are always like really opening to the heart because they help the respiratory system. And it's a very Cancer essence. It's uplifts, it opens the heart, brings it into a higher vibration, as well as helps us navigate feeling like vulnerable, which are two the key places of Cancer. So it's this lovely kind of earthy, light flower scent. So violet leaf for Cancer. All right, thanks so much for being here with me today, and I wish you a great week, and I will see you next time.